Hi,
Hi Sai, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. Yeah, good to see you here.
Thank you, firstly. Thank you very much for accepting my invitation and accepting to be on my show.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure coming here talking to you. And I have a broad reach and have a goal of helping a lot of people. So happy to be part of this.
So, I've gone through your work. I can see you did so much work in your career in technology. So, I thought to tell about your work and the experience that you have, and also the thoughts that you have to my audience.
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, before that, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah. My name is Sunku Ranganath. I'm based in Portland, Oregon, in the United States, and I work as a global solutions architect in Intel. And I've been with Intel more than 12 years now. I've done my master's in computer engineering in Arizona State University and my bachelor's with Nine University. And yeah, been moved here for my master's and been here all along. And yeah, currently I work in telecom domain as a solutions architect, and I participate in the Internet of Things, edge computing, and private 5G side of the world. So it's been going great, and yeah, so yeah, I'm open to discuss whatever you have in mind.
So, right now you live in.
Portland, Oregon,
Okay.
USA. Mhm.
So, what is your present role and responsibility?
Yeah, so as a solutions architect at Intel, right? So my role is to work with various partners, companies, customers of Intel to represent some of the solutions that we work with. Currently, I work in a program called Smart Edge. So my role essentially is to work with architects and product managers and directors and CXOs of various companies, small size, big size, startups, medium size firms, different companies to establish that working relationship, discuss technological aspects, where to figure out what technological solutions are possible in the edge computing domain, and to jointly work together to take it to customers and consumers and customers. So essentially, it's a combination of this role is a little bit unique. The title solutions architect. So essentially, it's a combination of looking into the technological aspects of a particular domain. For example, I work in edge computing in 5G domain. So take a problem statement, look at the technological architecture, design a solution, and also understand the business side of it. Work with various business owners to figure out how best to share this technology with the broader customers and understand the reach, understand the business side of it, and take it to the market. So it's a combination of business aspects and technology aspects, and also involve figuring out how best to come up with particular solutions towards addressing a problem statement in the edge computing domain.
So working on architecture and also working on business. So both are two different. So how you are able to do this?
Yeah, so that's something I continue to learn every day. So my background has always been as a software engineer, and sorry, I have a little bit of cough in between. So as a software engineering background, and I've been always focused on technology and figuring out, solving technological problem statements, right? And whether it's, coding or integration or performance or, so figuring out various system engineering aspects to address a particular problem. Now, the reality of any technology is, someone has to use it. Someone has to buy it for any company or a service or a product or a project that you provide. Someone has to understand how to use it. Someone has to purchase it. That's how any company would exist. So there is a side of the any technology company that they have to take a particular project or a product to market and position it with customers. Working with the uh, product teams, working with the business teams, so you really understand, what aspects of a product or a solution needs to be represented to the customers. And so most of the times, any product has to be outside in, right? So it has to solve a particular business need or customer's need. You can, come up with the greatest product in the world. If no one's going to use it, it's not going to kind of build on, right? No one is going to use it. It's just, it stays there. So understanding the end user's perspective, which is the business perspective, really helps you in providing or designing a better product or creating a better solution towards that need. And that's where understanding the business comes into play. So, and that is what has always been my interest, to figure out how best to figure out customer needs and create something. And this role is kind of a mix of both. It's a different learning than just, sitting in front of a computer and do something. And you have to really talk to people, understand what's going on, understand the needs and requirements, and bring up a solution that fits their needs. So it's really fun, challenging, and also interactive to kind of be in this role.
So that's what my next question is. You're talking with computer on one side and talking with human beings on other side. So which one you like and why you like?
Yeah, it's no matter what we do, we have to, leverage a computer that's in front of us, right? So it's for me, it's a combination of both that is interesting and that is challenging, because anything that we do, instead of just saying, "Hey, I did something," someone else will take it, and my work is done. So my role and my interest has always been figuring out how best is it used by the end consumer and customer. And so it's fun to really work on both aspects together. Right, so that way you don't have to lose your feet in latest advancements in the technology. At the same time, you really interact with people and customers and partners to really understand the world, what's going on outside of your computer. There's a whole big world out there. A lot of things are changing every day. So this helps to kind of be in touch with both.
So what made you to become a solutions architect?
Um, you know, like I said, it's a relatively new role in recent times, right? So it's not something I know it existed forever. For me, the interest of figuring out the customer pain points and figuring out what else is going on out there apart from my company. So everything that I did in my background work kind of led to this point where I figured that, hey, it's fun to talk to customers and partners, understand what's going on, and map it to a solution design, a solution architecture, a solution implementation, right? So which leverage system engineering practices. System engineering is something that's always been an interest of mine. So, when you look at these two, I figured, okay, now when I saw this role within my company, I figured, okay, and that's something I want to do going forward. And that led me to move from pure software engineering background towards this role.
So can I say you being in engineering side helped you to become architect today?
Yeah, that's absolute essential, being engineer, right? So no matter what your title is, sometimes, in my opinion, personal opinion, uh, titles are just very fancy. Title can be anything, doesn't mean much, because what matters is the impact you create and the help and the reach that you have through the technology and the products that you're going to build. So from that perspective, being an engineer, being my background is software engineering, primarily network software engineering. So being hands-on into the technology, being hands-on with understanding the ins and outs of a particular technology really helps you move towards understanding the overall picture. And that's where you can move towards being some sort of architect, software architect, product architect. There are multiple ways you can be an architect. So can help you understand the overall picture so that you can be a good architect. Architecture is not just putting some diagrams together, right? So you have to understand some of the nitty-gritty details, ins and outs of how to implement whatever you architect. And that's where being engineering background, being a hands-on person will really help you become a much better architect.
So you spent a lot of time being an engineer. So what you learned and what kind of projects you worked for?
Yeah, so I started with embedded systems being my background. That's where I did my master's in, and I did low level, like hardware level programming for a while, firmware development, driver development, different phases in a driver life cycle, a firmware life cycle for hardware. And then I moved into telecom cloud about more than 6 years ago, 7 years ago. And there's a lot to learn across each of these phases that I went through, right? Because the nature of development life cycle is, or software life cycle is different based on the end product that you're going to work with, or end product that you're going to ship out to the market. So hardware products have its own life cycles. Pure software projects have their own life cycle. So ability to kind of morph based on what is necessary for the product or a project is very important. Depending on the domain that you're in, you have to change your mindset towards thinking outside in from a customer perspective. And your customer can be inside your company, outside your company. So outside in perspective is always important to understand what's going on and how it impacts your work. And also one of the senior architect had once told me a few years back, working with technology is easy, working with people is the difficult part. So that has been the biggest learning. I've been through many different projects and products and multiple managers in my company. So ability to learn and adapt and work with people will be really key in terms of moving forward in your career. So it's always an ability to understand the people you're working with, the direction project's going, and your ability to convey your thoughts in a concise and precise manner really plays an important role in the technology industry as well.
Your experience with 16 plus countries.
Sorry, my experience.
Yeah, you have connected with 16 plus countries.
It's more of a travel for 16 plus countries. Yeah. Yeah. So traveling is a personal passion of mine. I really love travel with my family, and we all love whatever opportunity that we get. We love to travel across, and it's been a dream of mine to cover as many countries as I can. So yeah, I traveled so far 16 countries so far. And yeah, it's everywhere I go. One thing is definite that I found is that um, people are same in a broad sense. The needs are same, and some of the interests are same. Cultures, there's so many cultures out there, but it's really fascinating to see different cultures, learn from them, see the natural beauty and the history, the culture, architecture, all these different places. So yeah, it's 16 for now, and now that COVID's opening up, COVID is kind of getting better, the situation across the world. and the ability to travel gets better, and I'd love to travel more.
So, like you said, one of the code that working with computers is easy, but working with human beings is not that easy. So, in
Yeah.
this vast experience of yours, I'm sure in different projects that you did and in different product or services that you are involved in, you might have connected and exchanged words with so many different people. So, how was that?
It's a different in a ball game every step of the way, every project you work with, right? So each country. So I worked with, recently, for example, folks from Ireland, Poland, just as an example. In my current role, I work with people from India and our teams in China. So each uh, country's culture kind of determines the communication and the style of working. It's some places it's fun, some places it's serious. So having an open mind and ability to kind of understand the other person's perspective is really crucial when it comes to working across borders. But it does mean you should be available to work with them in odd hours. Like in USA, it's like you can't say like, hey, I'm working 8 to 5, and I won't talk to anybody beyond that, right? So rarely it's the case, because most of the days, my work is like 6:30, 7 a.m., and can happen and go into late nights when I'm working with with people other side of the world. So one being flexible with respect to timing, another one being an open mind to work with them, and third being the best thing we can do working cross borders is meet the people in person. And now with travel restrictions and whatnot, at least have a video chat. So to really build that bridge connection, especially if your colleagues, you're going to be working with them for a while, and having that personal discussion, video call, and having that connection becomes really crucial at some point. And not everything could be done over email. That's one important thing as well. Or your WhatsApp or your personal message or Skype or Teams. Not everything is a message, right? So there's a person on the other end of the world. So it's really important to have that talk face to face, virtual or in person, and build that bridges so that you can get the work done. So like I said, technology, there's a logic behind it, there is rules behind it, there are physical laws that you have to adhere to. With respect to human beings, so it's wide open conversation. So that's why it's important to really establish that trust and personal connection to take things forward.
And your connection with open source software, you got an award. I can see, I can understand.
Right, right. So yeah, I mean, as part of my role, earlier role before being a solutions architect, I worked in various open source communities with software called Collectee, which provides telemetry from the hardware. With the project, at the time it was called OPNFV, Open Platform for Network Function Virtualization. Now the project has morphed into its name is Anakit. This project is still under Linux Foundation. So yeah, been actively participating in these projects and being a maintainer for Collectee at the time. So one thing I learned with open source, the reality is people volunteer to be there towards completion of the project, towards taking that project and using it for a particular purpose. And in the open source community, people don't get paid to do open source software. Most folks, meaning as a part of your company, so you can contribute to the open source software, and of course you're paid from that perspective. But open source software is not just a matter of writing something and sharing it there, right? So it's a matter of collaboration, helping the community, helping others, being open and transparent with your feedback process, being actively engaged in with others from various companies, various independent contributors, and these are the things that no one kind of sits down with you and say that do ABC. So that's where you have most people who are actively contributing to open source software. They take this personal initiative beyond what their daily job responsibilities are towards the success of that open source project. And that is where, in participating in these open source projects and creating this something called community of people who wants the project to be successful. So that's something I've learned working in the open source projects and the concept of community. So a lot of things, you need to be kind of be open-minded. You need to learn apart from your, quality deliverable that you would do towards the goal of that completion. So along the way, and a few years back, I got a OPNFE Community Leadership Award. I was not nominated by a good colleague of mine, and it was surprising that I got the award. But thankful for it. I'm happy that I can cherish that part. And I was active in the community at the time. So there's definitely a lot of learnings that one can gain by participating in open source projects.
So 11 years of experience in defining, developing, building, testing, and benchmarking, contributing software systems in open source communities and customers. So I'm sure in this vast experience of yours, you might have seen different kinds of products and services. So can you mention some that that made you think so much, like that created interest in you because it's 11 years?
So your question is, what are some of the things, like interesting things I've learned?
Yeah,
Okay.
different things, different.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, as a part of my work, so it's not just been a traditional software engineer where, just code something and then ship it, right? So I've been in various stages of life cycle management of a software, right? You create the software, you test the software, you integrate into making it a part of the bigger system. You design the system, and you go through various phases of testing the system and creating the system, the security, the scalability, benchmarking, performance of the system. So I've been involved in various stages of the software lifecycle, and through that, I worked with various people from across different companies. So, one of the best experience is working in the OPNFE community where there's still a good sense of community, and also participating in the Collective project. So, these open source projects have taught me, how to kind of interact with people from different countries and people who are volunteering their time to extra, go beyond their normal job and do extra towards the success of that goal. So, and also not just open source, right? Across this different roles that I've been in, I found, different set of uh, uh, mindsets and approaches towards coming up with a solution for a particular problem. Right? You are presented with a problem that you want to complete, and different styles of doing work, different styles of creating a project. So um, internally, I tell within my company, I tell others I had over nearly 10 managers across my different years, right? So you get to learn a lot based on the role that you're in, based on the different phase of the life cycle of a project that you're in. So the mindset changes, and the most important thing is ability to adapt, right? So the industry changes big time, sometime that you don't there won't be any need of the project or the product that you're working on, and suddenly you have to stop everything that you're working on, and next day, you have to start onto something else. So ability to adapt and not panic. Right? Early in the career, people tend to panic. Oh, this project is dead. What am I supposed to do? Will I have my job? Will I be fired, laid off? Right. So these are constant things that's back of the mind for everybody. But if you understand the end customer, if you understand the direction your project is headed in, if you understand the business environment you're in, so you'll always find that you can create opportunities. I mean, sometimes early in the career, you have to go apply for a job. But if you understand as you progress in your career, if you understand the broader picture, you can create an opportunity, you can create a job for yourself in the company that you're in, or the service industry, or product industry that you're in. You can create a job for yourself, you can create a business for yourself, and establish yourself that way as well. And that is where most of the startups come from, identifying a need and coming up with a solution. And along the way, you find people who want to support you, who believe in you, which is the most important part, in my opinion. Right? So the more sooner that you do, the more sooner you learn that, hey, there are a set of people who believe in me. Whether it doesn't matter I'm a genius or not, right? So, and it doesn't. That's more than being a genius. Important thing is more being open-minded and ability to learn. Right. So, yeah, you pick up these things, you learn these things. They're working on different projects, different teams, different managers, and then all of them kind of help you be better in your next role.
So you solved different problems and you was involved in different projects and you had conversations, talking with different people. Also, when you mentioned about your traveling, you love to travel and you want to experience different things. So you have solved a lot of problems already. So what is your approach towards solving any problem, and what is how you look at any problem? What is your view first time? Because you mentioned adaptability just now. So how you were adapting to new things that you're
Mhm.
facing for the first time?
Yeah, with respect to problem solving, right? So that I think, yeah, it's a really good question, given that to grow in your career, especially in the technological world, that is one very important thing you have to keep in mind. So my approach has been, I mean, there's no rule book that says like, hey, this is exactly how you solve a problem, right? Of course, you can, depending on the domain that you're in, there are a lot of books and articles that you can read and understand the different techniques, as people call it, right? But for me, what has worked is being always curious about having that interest, having that curiosity about whatever you do, how is that it's going to be used? Who's the user of this? How will they use it? Whether you write a code, whether you do a testing of a software, whether you create a system design, whether you create a architect a solution, right? I've done all of these things, right? So it's a matter of understanding how is it that your work is going to be used. And once you know that, and being always curious about the technology, I mean, technology always keeps changing, new things keep coming up. That curiosity and ability to ask the right questions will help you towards simplifying the problem that is in front of you. And then, given your background experience, you can connect the dots and say like, hey, here's how I'm going to approach this. And there's always help available. And you can seek out to mentors, you can seek out to experts, and seniors in your role, right? With that open mind, right? Not that you go for every little thing to ask others, but you do your background work. And most sometimes you're stuck, right? So most of the times whenever you're stuck, it's okay to ask others that, hey, this is what you have done, this is where you're stuck, and people are generally open to help out. So in terms of problem solving, being open and curious, being about the technology, about the end user, and always have that attitude of learning, right? So you have to constantly keep learning in your domain of interest, so that when the problem does come in front of you, you can look at it from your experience, what you learned, try and do what you can, and you can always reach out to others and never reach out to others for the same thing more than once or twice, right? So once you don't know, second time maybe I didn't realize. If you're reaching out to others for the same thing three times, four times, then it's taking advantage of their help and time, and it rather reflects negatively on you, right? So from that perspective, so it's a once you go through enough problems that you're facing, that you're trying to figure out on your own, gives you confidence that, hey, okay, I can take up bigger things that you can do, and that's where you can progress from that perspective.
Can I say these qualities that you said that you have that learning skills that made you to be whatever you are today and understand the business aspect of the technology and being an architect working with the systems?
Yeah, absolutely. So in order to progress in your job role, right? So that doesn't matter what type of role that you have, being that curious mindset and ability to learn, being open-minded to learn, can always help you to move forward. Right, doing that little extra, helping others and going beyond what your daily job responsibilities are, and creating a sense of that network, um, that where you have a set of people where you're helping, you're getting help from, having that sense of network of people around you would really help you to progress further in life.
And you worked 6 years in design, integration, performance analysis, building reference solutions, architecture, proof of concepts, and network function virtualization domain. So how was
Right.
this experience?
Yeah, you're reading it off of my blog on Medium, right, based on my experience. It really sounds funny when I hear back what I've written. So like it's more like a resume statement. You just put everything in there, everything and kitchen sink in there. So, no, so it's more of just to give you a background, right? It's more to provide anyone who's trying to understand about me, right? The nature of work that I've done, like as from a holistic perspective, not just I've done ABC, right? So because all of these things, to answer your question, right? All the things that you read just now, right? They are used towards like solving a particular problem or addressing a particular product need or a project's need. So again, it comes down to, for me, I've been working in a telecom domain, right? Based on the customer's pain point, right? You want to take a technology to the market. You want to help your customers understand an aspect of technology for them to leverage and use that technology in their products or solutions. You want to be able to provide a way for them to consume what you create. And that's where the reference solutions, reference architectures, all of them, out of that, help. So, from product perspective, like you have a piece of hardware, because I work for a hardware company, you have a piece of hardware technology that's brand new and you want to apply it in the telecom domain. So now how can someone use it? I mean, everybody can read the product manuals and, you know, figure it out brand new for the very first time, which takes a lot of time. Rather, the work and the teams that I've been involved in, their focus has been okay, let me create a reference solution towards solving this particular problem. So one of the reference solutions Recently, I was at a conference called Intel Innovation, and we presented a reference solution with a partner of ours. And the idea is, how do you leverage zero trust security in the edge computing? And it's a pretty broad area. And if you start digging in, there are a lot of technical aspects to it. So we created a reference solution to tell people that, hey, here's how you can bring together cloud native software, security software, zero trust concept. Here's how you can scale it. Here's how you install this. So that concept of reference architecture and solution, the purpose is to bring together these different elements and create a system. You engineer a system, design and implement a system that can help others to understand what that security at the edge supposed to be, zero trust at the edge computing supposed to be. So, depending on the need of an end customer and whatever you're working with, a project you're working on, right? So for someone else to consume it, you need a simple way to kind of implement it and showcase. And these are often free, right? You cannot buy, for example, simple way to look at it, right? You go to in a dessert store, and there are like ton of desserts, whether it's cupcakes or Indian sweets or whatever the desserts are, right? And you want to figure out whether you want to buy from that shop. Unless you try out a sample, you never know if you want to buy it. So a sample cannot be, give me $2, I'll give you a sample of what I do. Right? It doesn't work that way. I know that sample has to be free so that the person can purchase your product, right? Or your service. So from that perspective, all these reference solutions architectures it's more of a way for others to experience your technology so that they can consume your overall technology.
That's great. And you said lead cross-geo teams of engineers and contract workers across multiple time zones by successfully delivering multiple solutions open source software.
Yeah. So, say for to explain, so I'm assuming your question is like, what does it mean, right? So I work for a global multinational company. Intel has their places, their offices and teams across different countries. So, oftentimes I want to kind of deliver a piece of technology, a piece of a project. You end up working with people from various countries. Like I said recently, in my current role, I work with teams in Asia, and prior to that, I was working with teams in Europe. And if you towards that completion, it's all virtual team today, but given the geographical boundaries, it adds another layer of complexity. So to that end, to complete a particular project, you have this virtual team and some of the projects and implementations. I led some of those virtual teams of 5 or 10, right? So to complete a particular project. So towards that goal, it's been really fun to kind of figure out a way that works for your team, that works for you, and how best to work with the cross-border teams and deliver a goal. And the best way I've seen is at least visit once in a while to meet the team, really work with them. And I've been fortunate enough that I could travel in the past to meet the teams across the boundaries. So it's a matter of figuring out what works best for the project and for the team that you're working with, so that you can collaboratively come up with a process that you can work with the team. And not everybody likes meetings in odd hours, and the being that person who's flexible and adaptable to the culture of the teams that you're working with will really help you towards completing the project on time, delivering the project or a product on time, right? And that is what is something I've learned, right? So some of the words you say may not be understood or may be taken negatively. So you have to really understand the tone of the other person, how they're talking, how they're communicating, so that you can really clarify simple things. Sometimes people just assume wrong things based on what you've done. Oh, this guy might not be interested based on the tone that you might hear. But reality is, person might be just thinking, or person might be very much interested. They're waiting for you to tell more. So it's a matter of assuming less and communicating and conveying a little bit more, so that you're well understood, and you understand the other person asking the right questions, so that you can lead effectively towards completing that goal, completing that project, and work with the teams internationally.
That's amazing. And also you said excellent relationships and driving adoption of features and solutions with customers, partners across open source communities, system integrations and NFV domain experts.
Yeah, so that's been part of my role, working in the open source community, really bring together various experts towards addressing a particular challenge, particular goal, setting the direction of the project, ask the direction. So, for example, um, in one of the project, it has been an open source project. Some people contributed, off outside of office hours. Some people's role was as part of their job to contribute to that open source project, and we wanted some traction. We wanted a way to figure out how best to have a release cycle for the project, and how best to help others consume that project as well. So, it was really hard to communicate over just a phone call or email, and to bring in this community together. So I figured, I followed up with a different set of people, found their interests, found their availability, and we all figured, hey, let's meet in Munich to really meet in one of the company's campus. At the time, we met in Google's campus. So we all traveled to Munich from different parts of the world, people from Poland, Germany, different parts of Europe, from USA, from Seattle. Right. So different people traveled from different places, and we all met in Munich to really understand, okay, what is the interest of different parties that are there, and how can we best help the consumer that is using these projects, and especially the open source project, and what are the high priority items that we need to address towards creating that traction and momentum in the project, and really sit down for 2 days face to face. Especially when you travel, overseas, there's a jet lag. And the first day you go there, you're in a meeting, all day meeting. One of the things I learned, like, you have to find a way to effectively manage jet lag. You really, once the first time I went there, I just fell on the table by the time it was evening, because it was well over midnight for me in USA, and it was just early morning in USA, and it was evening there. So, um, from that perspective, find a way to really sit down, talk to people, find a way to prioritize. And again, these are all people from different companies, and these are all. There is no one leader there, right? Hey, this is the leader. Let's all listen to this leader. It's not. It doesn't work that way. Open source doesn't work that way. It's a community. Everybody's voice is to be heard. Everybody's voice matters. So really sitting down and communicating your preferences, priorities, and also understanding others, and finding a way to work with others, so that everybody's priorities are kind of understood, and then following up with each of the individuals, so that you can there's some traction and movement in the project, and you go above and beyond. And I've seen some really considerate, and people who really love the technology. They don't do it for money, but they do it for passion of technology, that they would come in and contribute on top of their job to do the success towards the success of the project. And also, and these are experts in their own domain. I mean, these are experts in software development, testing, and system design. All these are experts in working in different companies. So working with them to make sure that you gain the traction and you have that continuous follow-ups and build that relationships through the call. So I established a bi-weekly call so that everybody can sync up and solve a particular problem. And so these are things that you get to learn being in open source community, and this is what through the work that I've done, it's what I've learned, like being this voluntary leadership, right? And it's not a official leadership, like you're in a position and you're the boss, right? This is involuntary. This is not involuntary. This is voluntary leadership to step up and do things, and it doesn't matter your age, right? So it's your willingness to contribute. So I taught a lot of things to kind of figure out priorities, working with people, and most importantly, success of a project through this voluntary leadership.
You know how computers are connected and how the information transfer is happening as a developer, and you know how the software mechanism works
Mm-hmm.
because you worked in this for a long time, and you know, and also you worked in different types of software services, and
Mm-hmm.
also if that is computer network, and here other side you're mentioning all these things, which shows that a software which built on the natural bodies called humans, and they are another network, human network, computer
Absolutely.
network,
Yeah.
computer network and human network. So
Yeah.
what you are observing both, because your job is also other than architecting, communicating with different companies and partners of the companies.
Mm-hmm. So what am I observing? That's a good question. So the way you said it, it really, that's true, right? Your human networks and your computer networks. So, one thing to realize there, right? So the communication of data across computer networks can travel at the speed of light, right? Over your fiber optic cables, right? So you send a message, hit send or email, within an instant, the other person gets it. Right. So that's like nearly a speed of light. You can send any information out there. But the reality is conveying the meaning of what you intended to convey, conveying your thoughts precisely, it's much harder than anything that in any technology that you can build up. Right now, 4G is kind of rolling out and 5G is coming in, and the speeds are 10 times, nearly 10 times the speed of 4G, and the speeds keep going up with 6G or 7G that will come in the future, right? But the most difficult part here is um, communicating with the other person with a clear and concise way so that the other person can understand. How fast you can send a message? Great. Everybody knows that. We're all working towards that. How best can you convey? That's the difficult part that every person needs to get better at. And the more you work with people, the more you experience working with people, the broader the network is. One of the best things you can do early in your career is have a network of people that you can work with and you can learn from and who are willing to help you out. And the bigger your network is, the broader your perspectives are, and the faster that you can learn, right? So, human brain can, it's a science that's proven out. Human brain can compute faster than any computer out there. Right. So we all can compute faster, but are we using it to the best advantage? Right. So in terms of compute and in terms of a network, human compute and human network, that's the key part in order to move forward and build down a successful career.
uh, you are the evidence and the witness for the evolution of the technology from last
Right.
few years.
Yep.
So you saw what is there before 10 years, and you are observing what is happening now. So how do you define the human development and the software development?
Yeah. Software development wise, given after COVID, everybody has learned to kind of adapt to the virtual setting, and some people meet in office, some people don't. And the practices and the approaches have changed, in the recent times compared to even 10 years ago. There's this major event that shook the world, and it really changed everybody in order to leverage technology more and in order to build software that really helps people in this kind of virtual hybrid world. So software has the principles and the creativity. Fundamentally, some of the principles stay the same, right? You know, you cannot change the language overnight that you're working on. Fundamentally, some of the principles and processes have changed, remain same. At the same time, they have evolved to better suit what in today's world of people leveraging social media, people being, mindset being different in the virtual world, like where people have a personal life and also a professional life. So any product or project that's being created kind of is being fit into these needs, so to say, right? So if that thing has changed in terms of human needs as well, right? People have access to a lot more technology today than 10 years back. And everything is a push of a button. You don't even have much latency. Even 5G is coming up. You press something on YouTube, immediately the video shows up. So you have a lot more ways to learn what you want to learn, a lot more opportunities that you can bring in, right? So people are talking about recession, right? So it doesn't matter what how the some of the things out there in the industry are changing, but what matters is how fast you're able to adapt and learn and approach and step into. So I mean, there's always tough times and there are always good times, a recession or no recession, right? So it's a matter of ability to learn and adapt, and it's becoming much more important compared to 10 years ago, to learn and adapt to the things that are changing in the industry. So, and you can kind of ride the wave provided you're open-minded to kind of evolve. It's something I've learned going through different roles, different teams, different managers, different technology domains. That is what is important to kind of be able to openly adapt to your situation.
So what made human to make the software to reach everywhere on this planet? What worked? Uh, User experience, or in your entire experience, what you understood, what made human to make IT to reach everywhere? Because all the non-technical people are in the internet today.
hmm hmm
So what made everybody to come and use this technology services?
it's a very broad question, and right, so it's something to ponder over. Each person's perspective would be different towards this, right? So, one, there is a need that especially after COVID, that I see there is a absolute need to leverage technology going forward. Right, like you said, most people are being coming to internet, given a lot of things are being done over internet, and given this need, technologists across the world are figuring out that hey, there is a need for fundamental changes in the backbone of the infrastructure that we have, whether it's internet, whether it's a 5G infrastructure, right? So a lot of these things have to kind of evolve to better suit the needs. Like, your data speeds are going up. Number of people are joining in are increasing by vast amounts, right? So, and also there's a lot of initiatives across different, you know, industry firms and industry bodies, standard bodies, to help reach the technology to rural areas across the world. And the things like world hunger can be kind of helped solved by the reach of the technology. I mean, we've seen so many examples. People really go out there, post on social media, create fundraising events for them so that you can really see that help is going to remote corners of the world. And these are being made possible through technology advancements, network advancements, right? So from that perspective, it there is a absolute need that to expand the infrastructure to help reach the technology towards remote corners of the world. And the world is moving towards that. There's so many initiatives going on to help reach that network connectivity across these new areas of the world where it was really hard to reach any technology, right? So most major firms, there are many startups, being coming in the space that they want to bring products towards these goals. And there's a lot of innovation happening in that area as well. So yeah, it's really exciting times to see in the future what's going to happen, and how, and as technology reaches new areas, new products, new services, new companies come out of the woodworks to kind of help these people, help these areas. So yeah, it's fun and exciting times.
So what do you say about automation with artificial intelligence?
Again, it's a really popular and really important topic, right? So AI is being used everywhere today, and automation is one key area that you can leverage AI to kind of speed up the processes, right? Whether you see any sector, manufacturing sector or software itself, right? Software creation or content writing, so whatever areas that you dig into, there's AI being created so that some of these, repetitive tasks can be automated right off the gate. And and AI being intelligent going forward, that it can really replace some of the manual tasks that humans do, right? And my perspective, it's there's good and bad to it, but in reality is it is very much needed given the world of remote work and a difficulty in getting the right manpower. So AI is being heavily looked into, being created and used in the automation side of the things.
Uh, you are into telecom industry for a long time. You saw the evolution in telecom industry as well, and now we came to a place where we can send data, the information through any medium in fraction of seconds. So
Hmm.
where we are actually, so because you saw how fast the technology is developed. So
Hmm.
where we are going, are we going to even send the information to other planet?
Yeah, why not? We already have the ability to send the information to other planets, right? We are operating rovers on Mars, so to say, right? So we definitely have that ability to send the information across the planets. Um, so, like I said, the advances in the different areas, right? So the number of things that are being done in order to expand out the infrastructure to really able to uh, expand the reach, right? So the number one, the speed of information, always keep getting better in some form or shape because people are testing out the like limits of physics, how best to help reach the technology across these, much faster, much with lower latency. That's going to happen always, right? So for foreseeable future, that's number one thing people are going to keep working on. At the same time, the number of people leveraging the technology would also kind of keep improving or increasing. So from that perspective, a lot of opportunities being created, and people who understand the trends, people who understand the needs, can really create products or companies that can help others in these domains. and there's a lot of opportunity across the world, to do that, right? So there's no such thing as a saturation if you're innovative enough to help others, and you can create a product or service that can, make other people's life easier. So that you will always have opportunity.
So I have few more questions that before ending. So you worked in telecom industry, and you saw the information transfer, how fast it is happening from long time. So where we are going, we are transferring information in between countries today, and we are working remotely. And this is happening, and we came to a capacity where we can get information very quick. So are we able to go out of the planet, and what is your expectation when we are going to reach far, and if there are aliens or somebody, the
Yeah,
species
yeah.
with the capacity, and how the future technology is going to be?
Yeah, it's a broad question. It's a fun and interesting to explore. This question, right? So two things I'll tell you. One, what's happening on our planet, and one, what can we consider about outside of our planet, right? So one thing to think about, right? So with the 5G, most people know 5G as hey, my phone speeds get better, and I can download a movie faster with 5G, right? So most people think about just what's happening on our phones and our laptops. But in reality, 5G also brought in, the ability for machines to communicate each other much better and much faster, much more in a reliable fashion. So what this is enabling is there are so many advances in the agricultural field, in the industrial sector, in mining, in retail, in the shopping malls and whatnot, right? So there's so many use cases being brought up with the advent of 5G because the machine and machine are able to communicate with much lower latency and much easier and faster fashion than ever before, with all across the 5G spectrum, all using 5G, right? So the networks, the advances in the networks have enabled that. So what does that mean to, average person? If you think about, an agricultural farm, you have different, especially for example in USA, right? You have different machines, tractors or, seed planters or so many machines in the farm, that is taking care of your poultry or that is taking care of your fisheries, whatnot, right? So there's so many sensors being spread apart in these farms right now that machines can talk to each other. If there is a problem in a particular area, a particular machine can go there and look at the problem, and if there is a water leak, if there is a something happening with a particular tree falling down, right? So there's a lot of automation is being done so that farmer can immediately address that. You don't need 100 people to go there and look at it and find and keep looking at it day in day out. So these sensors can do that for you. So that is farming, for example. In the retail sector as well, people can have much better experiences shopping, right? So you don't there's a lot of experiments being done where you don't need a person to help bill it. You put all the items in your shopping cart, you go to a person and they bill the items and then go check out, right? So these things can be done automatically using cameras and sensors, right? So and so there's a lot of innovation in these different areas that the automation can be done through machines with 5G today. And to that end, 5G is expanding big time in all these sectors. And with the 6G, it's much more personalized computing, ambient computing. And there's a better ways being created to have sustainable technology where you're, having less carbon footprint on the environment, and there's a lot of sustainable practices have been incorporated across different technological aspects, right, from the hardware to software to end consumer, right? Every company is moving towards sustainable future. So that is what is happening on our planet. So what this means to a normal person who doesn't deal with technology development every day, is you have much more easier experiences in dealing with technology or using technology. Now, as things getting better and easier and faster, broader reach here, there's definitely a lot is happening to reach outside the planet as well. Right. So, for example, there is there's an IEEE initiative on extraterrestrial communication. How can you enable, leveraging space technology? How can you enable communication in different parts of the world? And leveraging similar infrastructure, you can also look at how can you send probes outside of our planet so that they can reach beyond, right? So the Voyager probe that was launched way back, so many years ago, it has crossed our solar system, and people didn't expect it to survive this long, but now it has crossed our solar system, and it has crossed that boundary, this interstellar space, right? So it's in that interstellar space that is going beyond any probe sent by a human outside of our solar system, right? And it took so many years for it to cross the solar system. So you never know what else is out there, who else is out there, and we have technology today that where you can launch multiple satellites, have leverage same space vehicle to back and forth send satellites out there. We have a much better telescopes today than ever before. So, there is in terms of extraterrestrial communication, a lot of advancements has happened, and that people are reaching out to outside our solar system, figuring out, how best to be prepared for the future. When, if there are aliens, when they do come, what we can do, right? So yeah, there is a lot of advancements going on. And if you're someone who watched Star Trek, I watch both Star Wars and Star Trek, but if you're a fan of Star Trek, there's so many hypothetical scenarios that the Star Trek show shows you that you can really it's just all you need is a figment of imagination to broadly reach out and imagine what's out there, and there are technologies being developed that can help you to reach out there, right? So a lot of fun things happening, a lot of things to explore.
So one final question is, quantum computers are going to replace humans' work?
Hmm. Okay. It's the question like, are they going to replace humans' work?
Yeah, yeah.
So it doesn't matter quantum computing or not, right? So there are computers, normal computers today replacing some of the, manual tasks that humans do, right? So it's uh, it's always a balance, in my opinion. And in respect to quantum computing, the technology is still being developed. It's in the early phases. People are looking at leveraging it for production use cases. But there's a lot of development ongoing that needs to be done so that you can mass produce quantum computers, so that it can be as simple as installing a normal laptop in anywhere to replace a particular job. So the form factor of it and the deployment of it, the automation surrounding it, and how best to use it still under works. And it's still going to take a little bit time before they come to the shop near us, right? They come to the Walmart near us, or they come to the store near us and say like, hey, I have a quantum computer in my store, right? It can do everything for us, right? There's still some time before we can get there in terms of sheer capabilities. Today, it's very expensive to build one and operate one. So that's how mainframe computers started. Back many years, a few decades ago. The simple calculator that we take it for granted today required like a whole room of computers to do the calculation. And today, we have a cell phone. It's much more powerful than a simple like a mainframe computer that did simple calculations. So, it'll take its own time, quantum computing technology to mature. And at some point in time, there'll be, as accessible as we have, a smartphone today, in a simple form factor, right? So, uh, yeah, it'll take its own time.
So at last, what is your experience, what do you feel about this conversation, and also about the work that I'm doing. Have you seen any videos of mine on YouTube, and what is your observation as a technologist?
No, thanks for doing that. This is something I shared with others, a couple of others as well. Like when I started, and I said, okay, I'll do the podcast with you. Right, so going through your YouTube channel, going through the nature of interviews that you've done, right? So people from diverse backgrounds, very different countries and cultures. All these people, like I've seen that now, listening to those podcasts and interviews, I've seen that you're very open to, understand the other's perspective, whom you're interviewing. But most importantly, the goal that you have to help others, right? What you said with respect to no matter, how long it might take for someone to listen to this video or this interview, but even if it helps one person to really change their life or change what they're doing on a daily basis or help evolve in their thinking so that they can apply for their life, right? So that's a really good mission to have. That's a really good value statement that you're really bringing together these different experts across the technological domains or doctors or whatnot, right? So that you can really bring them together and if their interviews, like I said, if their interviews help even one person, you've done your job, right? You're thankful for that. And same way, I believe in the same, that whatever I do, publicly, even if it helps one person, improve their life, that impact that you can have on their life, knowingly, unknowingly, towards a positive end result. That's what I look for as well. So from that perspective, I see that you're doing that on a daily basis. The podcasts and interviews take time. It's a lot of your personal time. So I'm thankful that you're doing that for the benefit of the world, the community that you're building, and the broad reach that you have. So it's really great that you're going over and beyond to really make this happen, to really put these things together. So thankful for that.
So I did masters in software engineering, also bachelor's in computer science and engineering. Right now I'm getting trained as DevOps engineer. So all this experience, talking with experts like you who are already in the industry, who worked in different projects, solved different problems, uh, understood how things works in the industry, and involving in different things in different works. Listening to all you people, experts around the planet, around the globe. So what I'm going to learn from this experience and how I'm going to use this knowledge if I work in IT in coming days.
So the question is, how can you use that experience to work going forward in the IT? Yeah, so it's number one, I think, given your access to broad set of people, given the number of things that you're doing with your podcast and interviews, right? So it can help you give a perspective of what's happening in the real world, what's happening in the industry. And I would encourage people who are listening to this as well. I mean, the more you listen, more you learn from diverse set of people would help you in your everyday career. And number two, um, given you're going through this different learning, your training in DevOps, whatnot, right? So you can really understand the pain points of various companies, various sectors that you're working with. I mean, any job that we do in software has to address a problem. So, I mean, you can create software for fun, but in order to make it a career, it has to help someone address a problem. So, or a problem or a need, so to say, right? So from that perspective, in terms of DevOps that you're learning, same thing, so any major enterprise needs software to be automated as a necessity of leveraging DevOps to make it easier for, the IT team or the product team, so that to ship the software out, to test it, to scale it, to understand it, and you can ship it out to the customer. So from that perspective, yeah, DevOps is absolutely needed and it's being used across so many industries today, so many verticals, sectors. So yeah, I mean, keep talking, keep going through the various advancements out there in the DevOps industry, and you can really make an impact with your broad experience and with your knowledge in terms of implementing DevOps to help a particular organization.
I'll put your web links in the description of this video. People who find the video on YouTube can see the work that you're doing, and also I can see you're also contributing through your blog as well. You're writing topics which will help them in improving their knowledge. So uh, also I'll put on the screen as well. They can see the entire video, your online presence, also your social media
Mhm.
presence. And can you also spell your online presence to my podcast listeners?
Yeah, definitely. I'm generally active on LinkedIn. So the URL would be made available. So I'm happy to kind of help anyone, any of the domains I talked about, personal growth, career growth, 5G technology, edge computing, telecom. I share articles, technological articles, through Medium blog, and I'm also building my personal blog called allthingsedge.com. So some of these areas that you can see the advancements in the technology that I know of, that I'm working on, and I share a lot of these on LinkedIn. Some of the various architectural solutions that I come across, some of the industry trends I come across, I share them on LinkedIn as well. So yeah, happy to connect and chat with anyone, and any small impact that I can do, I'd be very happy to. And thanks, Sai, for giving me this platform and opportunity to help me share my perspective, help me, reach your audience, and whatever small impact that I had, I'm very happy and thankful that you're doing this.
Can you spell your presence?
Yeah, my full name is Sunku Ranganath, right? So Sunkuranganath. So if you search in LinkedIn or Medium with my name, right, you should be able to find me.
Definitely, definitely, it is going to helpful for a lot of people from anywhere who listens to you, and even if pick some of your points, you will be the great contributor for their development and their growth. If they change and if they implement that in their life, that is going to be a big contribution for themselves and also for their family as well. Thank you very much for giving me your valuable time and giving answers to my questions and telling your experience to my audience.
Absolutely, it's been a pleasure, and very glad that we have done this. Happy, looking forward to further opportunities working with you.
Thank you again.
Sure, yeah. Take care then.
Bye.
Bye.